The world's eyes are on Ukraine as Russian forces continue their increasingly cruel and indiscriminate attacks on the country's civilians at the behest of Vladimir Putin. But is North Korea and its ruler, Kim Jong-un, taking advantage of that distraction? The U.S. assessing that North Korea is testing a new intercontinental ballistic missile system with a set of recent launches that the Biden administration calls a serious escalation of its weapons capabilities and a potential threat to America amid stalled diplomacy. The Hill's White House columnist Niall Stanage joins me now. Niall, good morning. Great to see you. So the White House is warning that these missile launches are potentially setting up North Korea to try a full-range test very soon, reporting the missile is actually larger than the one it launched in 2017, which that one, when they talked about that, they said it could reach the U.S. How big of a threat is this one right now?
This is a big threat, Rutabaga. There's no question about that. I think sometimes in discussions of missile capabilities, it's easy to get lost in a tangle of technical specifications. The bottom line is the North Koreans are testing a bigger missile. That missile theoretically could reach anywhere in the continental United States and, as you mentioned in your introduction, deliver a bigger payload than previous missiles. Now, there are some asterisks to that. These recent tests, the missiles didn't fly particularly high. It seems like the North Koreans are still in a testing stage. But, I mean, if your enemy is holding a gun and checking the chamber, you know he's not going to shoot that second, but it's still not a very reassuring situation, and that's essentially what we're facing here.
Well, that's a good way to put it. Let's talk about the significance of the timing here. Do you think Kim Jong-un is taking advantage of the fact that the global focus is on Ukraine right now, or is this some sort of power flex? Could other U.S. adversaries theoretically use this moment to test nukes as well?
I guess I think it could be both a power flex and an opportunistic use of timing. Kim Jong-un has obviously wanted to flex his muscle generally for many years now. But I think when the eyes of the world and the eyes of Washington are on Ukraine, he might simply think it's a better time to get away with it right now. As far as our other adversaries are concerned, we don't have much evidence of actual nuclear testing, but there is evidence of some other activities. China, for example, has been throwing shapes regarding Taiwan to a greater extent than it normally does. We don't think that is an imminent invasion, but it shows this sort of emboldening, perhaps, of adversaries in this very troubled time.
And the White House has condemned this test, obviously. Does it have the potential to draw any focus away from our efforts to force Vladimir Putin to end his war?
To me, the problem could maybe be the inverse of that, Rutabaga, that the focus is so much on Vladimir Putin and Russia that we could miss other things or not take action on other things. Now, we are hearing reports that there could be new sanctions imposed on North Korea today. But remember, this comes at a time when President Biden has a lot to think about both internationally and domestically. I mean, we've just talked about the international problems, but he's dealing, of course, with record high inflation, with a pandemic, with gas prices, with midterm elections that are 8 months away. He has a lot on his plate by anybody's standards.
And also the morale of the Russian troops is suffering. They haven't been faring well. There have been a lot of miscalculations on the military front, and we know that not all Russians support this war, as evidenced by the thousands of arrests we've been seeing at protests.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is an interesting point as far as the Russian side of this is concerned. This evidence of dissent in Russia itself, that could perhaps be an Achilles heel for Mr. Putin as he tries to press his advantage here. That kind of domestic discontent in the face of sanctions, in the face of all these other pressures, could have an effect. The question, of course, is how soon, and how soon could it have an effect, and how big would that effect be?
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.